So the A5X2 Manta is great. I'm sure there's a lot of other videos that have recently come out that talk about how great it is, how all the features are so wonderful. It is all those things. But as a longtime Supernote user, there were some things over the past week that I experienced that I just wanted to share that maybe people after that newness factor, after the wow factor kind of wears off, maybe they'll talk about these things. But someone who uses it to primarily write, I just want to share these things to hopefully help people who are curious about this device and maybe help them decide whether this is the device for them. And so I have 7 points, and some of them may come across as maybe negative, but I don't really view it that way. I'm looking at it as someone who is writing primarily for scripts, for taking notes, and also these are things that I've just seen over the past week. Obviously, I need more time, and as time goes on, I hope to share some of the discoveries and challenges or all the other things in between as I learn how to use this device and fit it into my workflow. And sorry, this is going to be more like a talk story. There's not going to be a lot of B-roll or product shots, but if you need to see a product shot, there you go. That's I don't have an over the top camera. So with that being said, let's get started. First thing I want to mention is my day one experience, particularly with the feel of the device, because I've been using this device for almost 3 years now, and so I've gotten used to how this surface feels. And so the first thing that I noticed was when I was writing with the Manta, the surface feels grippier, and it's like there's more texture on it, and maybe that's what the newer technology that they introduce in sort of this generation devices, it has that. But comparing it to the last generation, the A6X, and I assume the A5X, it's grittier on this one. And the only way I can describe it, because that's a big deal to some people, right? They want to buy a device that feels like they're writing on paper. And I can say that this gets closer to paper than this one, but I don't think it's exactly the same. So on this one, I thought it was actually quite good, but over time I realized it's sort of like a little bit better than when you go to like the supermarket and you have to like sign, when you swipe your credit card or tap your credit card and you have to actually sign it. Or like the bank. It's a little bit better than that. But this one, it has like a grit feel to it. That's all I can say. Like it's like as you're writing, you can feel like something. It's not as smooth. And so day one, that's the first thing that I noticed was how it felt when I was writing. It felt a lot better in my opinion. And again, not exactly like paper, but much closer. And again, even the A6X wasn't that bad of an experience. I still liked writing on it, but that feels a lot better. That I don't know what you call it, texture, grit, but that's the first thing that I noticed. So while the writing feel I think improved, an area of concern actually as I started writing more with this over the past week was the scale of the templates. Now I know everyone has their own templates that they like and they gravitate towards. Some even make custom templates. I'm like, I don't got time for that. So my template of choice has been wide rule, because on this device, this is the closest that I get to like that paper feel like when I was back in school. And so I like that. I know there's college rule, there's other lines. And on the A6X, the college or the wide rule is perfect for me. I noticed though that on the A5X2, the Manta, everything gets bigger, like to scale. And so that wasn't what I actually didn't expect that. And so what that means in real life, in real terms, is that because the template is bigger, like to scale, I was finding that I was actually writing bigger. And so again, I don't know if this is something that people talk about because maybe they just get a smaller, they write smaller or something, but when I see the lines for the wide rule, I'm trying to scale it to that size. And so I noticed that my handwriting got bigger to match the bigger template, just the scaled up template. It's gotten me to even think about college rule as the template because it's a little bit thinner in terms of the lines, which means I could write more on the page and everything would just be a little bit more condensed. So the scaling to me was actually quite a big issue. I don't know if other reviewers have talked about that, but again, jumping from an A6X user to now the A5 size, that was something that I wasn't quite expecting. And I think that's going to take some time getting used to. Now the third point, and this is actually a big concern of mine. Again, this is not anything to do with the device being bad, but this is just a concern on usability for my own self and my own workflow. So now that I have two devices, there's the option to not just store everything up to the cloud, but also to sync everything. And having one device, that was never an issue, trying to sync it with another device. But now that I have two, the devices sync. And originally I thought, oh my gosh, that's going to be an amazing, amazing tool, right? I can have the big one and I can have the small one. And it's sort of like Google Drive, right? It's like it follows you everywhere. And so that in my mind, I thought was going to be great. The thing was, because of the scaling issue or the scaling template challenges, things that I have to get used to, I'm not sure if I like the fact that now I have two devices that can be the exact same or have the exact same content on that. And this is a little bit, we're going to dive deeper into the whole writing thing here a little bit, but traditionally, right, if you have a notebook, one notebook, all the ideas in that notebook belong to that notebook, that physical notebook. You could copy it over, but you got to just, duplicate it, and you're going to handwrite the thing, right? You could take pictures of it, but all the writing, all the handwritten notes, everything belongs to that actual notebook. Now that you can sync, if you have two or more devices, you can sync all of your notes. There's this challenge, I think, as someone who likes to write. Do I want to keep all my notes that I do in the A6 version just in this tablet and have different things here, or is it better that it syncs? And of course it would make sense. Oh yeah, everything would be fine. You would want it all to sync. But because of the scaling issue, where now I'm questioning whether I should use college rule or even a different template, because the wide rule works well on the smaller device, but on the big device, to me, it's just too big. That would mean that if I change it to college rule on this device, that when I move to this device, the smaller one, I'm going to be using college rule, and it's going to be quite small. And the opposite also works. If I'm going with wide rule, which is my go-to template on the small device, now everything is huge on the big device, and it's not very condensed. And so I am not sure yet what I'm going to do with this, whether I'm going to not sync them. Like, I'll save them, but I may not sync the devices. There's some challenges with that because I do want to work cross-device, but because of the scaling issue, for me personally, and maybe that's just me, okay, not other people may be fine, but just saying as a wide rule user, I wasn't expecting the scaling of the page to be big, which would force my writing to be big, which is fine for this device, but I feel like I should just write smaller. But then if I write smaller, then on this device it's going to be too small. So those are the issues that I'm thinking about. So syncing is good, but for my use case, I'm not sure yet. And for the reasons of just traditional notebook taking, the notes go in this, the notes belong to this device, certain notes belong to this device, just like a notebook. I'm not sure yet. And that's one thing that in the first week I've been trying to figure out, because as I'm going back and forth between devices, I'm not sure how I want to write moving forward. All right, next issue. This is number 4. It is about the pen and the accuracy of the writing. I would say, and I don't know if anyone else has talked about this, but I would say per page, like if I write like this, it will miss the mark at least once. I won't say at least one. That sounds like that would imply that it's more, and that's not true. 1 to 2 times. When I'm writing a full page and I'm going my normal writing speed, sometimes the pen or the tip of the pen will not pick up And so you'll have like, like when you're writing like this, right? You just write, right. But sometimes, like at the beginning of the word, especially, right? If I'm writing like a letter, like a C, if I'm writing one time out of the entire page, maybe twice, but more likely it's been about once per page, I notice it doesn't register. Now, to comment on this in comparison to the A6X, there was ghosting on this device, but it wasn't that big a deal for me, where by ghosting I mean I would write a word and then the word would disappear and I'm like, wait a minute, did I erase it by accident? And then I would continue writing, but then maybe a couple seconds later the word would pop up that I first wrote. So I'm not sure exactly what the term is, I just called it ghosting. It was something that I could live with this device. I have not experienced that yet with the Manta, that type of ghosting where I write a word, it disappears for 2 seconds and then it reappears. It's just been like I'm writing and then it doesn't catch that first time. And so that's something that I've actually been okay with. It's not that big of a deal, but something that I noticed, and maybe other people haven't noticed it, but that's something that I noticed on my device. It's not a bad thing, it's just, I just noticed that. Item number 5, again, I know this sounds all like nitpicking bad stuff, but there'll be some good stuff coming, okay? Item number 5, it is this side calendar thing, okay? Amazing, okay? I love the fact that when you hit the right side, or the sidebars, it refreshes. I love that, very satisfying. But if you pull down, it pulls up this little sidebar, and this was new for me. There's a little calendar, there's actually like a calendar option, and I love having this calendar option because for me, I didn't want to use like an extra template for a calendar. I tried doing that, but it just was so humbug. So the fact that there's a built-in calendar right here and it's right on the sidebar, for someone who's scheduling videos and scripts and filming, like that is amazing. Like that is absolutely wonderful. On top of that, I should mention, you can add individual notes for days and weeks, all good stuff. But another thing that I really love is that you swipe that thing down, you get the little sidebar again, and you go to last open note, and boom, you're in there. So if I want to check my calendar, I'm working on something, I hit down, calendar pops up, okay, that video's coming out that day, I'm working on this thing. I swipe down again, open my last note, it's like, oh, so smart. All right, almost there. Number 6, this is size. And I could probably make a whole video just talking about the size difference because I have the privilege of owning 2 of this. Again, I bought this one, Rada sent me this one, but the size, and this is gonna be very subjective. When I first was deciding what device to buy, way back in like 2022 or before that, I really wanted the A5 size because I wanted something as close to like an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. Unfortunately, I could not find the A5 size, and they just had the A6X, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna go buy that one. And originally I thought, it's gonna be so small. But over the course of the years that I've been using it, I think this is the perfect size. Now, I know a lot of people are really excited about the upgrades for the Manta, and it is, again, there's a lot of videos that talk about all the wonderful things, and I don't want this again to come across as me just ragging on this device. I'm just trying to be real here as if we're friends, and I know people will be spending their money on this device, and I just want them to be informed. When it comes to the A5 versus the A6 size, right? Like you're talking like half of this, right? In the US, we don't really use A sizes, but I'm getting used to it. I personally believe that for most people, and again, this is just after a week of use, okay, but for most people, I think the A6 size is the better choice. And that's probably a lot of bias because I've been using this for 3 years and I'm just starting to use this size. But in the 1 week that I have used it, I can already tell this is not mobile, even though it's very light and thin. Like, it's, can you see it? It's thin. So it's not heavy to carry, but just holding the device, this is big, like per my hand. It's less portable than this, obviously, just based on the size. I'm not talking about the weight. I'm just talking about the size. And for me, as I'm getting older, not that old, but I'm getting older, portability and ease of use are becoming a lot more important than other like features. It's just, I want things to be easy to use, but more importantly, I want them to be easy to carry with me, because because the easier it is to carry something, the more you're going to use it. And I feel like already, just a week with these two devices, right? I can fit this in my bag. I carry a bag with me. Easily, this will fit in my bag. This has to go in a backpack or work bag, and if that's what you're gonna use it for, I think that's great. Like if you're gonna do note taking where you sit in a classroom and the teacher's there, absolutely, this extra space is wonderful to have. But if you're gonna be on the move, maybe go coffee shop, or like you don't know what you're gonna do, but you just want to bring a notebook, or you want to just go sit on the couch somewhere, and when you're gonna be more on the go, or your schedule is gonna be a little bit unclear and you have to be more flexible, I think the flexibility of the A6 size is better for most people. Again, I don't know everyone's use case, but if I were to recommend size wise, not these two devices, I'm just saying size wise, I would say this is probably more useful and can be used by more people. Even if you're afraid it's too small, it's too small. To me, if you're writing, this would be it. This I think you could use for like different things because it's so much bigger, but again, I know the newness of the device, those types of things can be overlooked, especially if people are coming from the Nomad, they want, I want a bigger one, right? And just saying, as someone who now has a bigger one week later again in the use, this is nice to have, but I would really recommend the A6 size for just general use. Like but that's just me. And again, I have the privilege of trying both devices, and I now own these devices, so it's easier for me to say that. If you had to pick one though, like you didn't have any device, and you're like, okay, which one should I get? To me, for most people, if you're gonna write, I feel like the portability of this, yeah, I think it's better. But I know this is the new one. I know it's real slick and it feels good. But I'm afraid that after that wears off in like a couple of weeks to a month, for like a regular person, once all the hype wears off, the newness wears off, they're gonna be like, man, this thing is hard to, it's kind of humbug to carry, and that's what you don't want in a device. And that's not their fault. Like that's not Rada's fault. That's not the person's fault who purchased it. It's just, speaking as someone who's got to use both, especially this one, I think the A6 size is perfect. Again, it seems too small initially, but once you start writing it, and then now in comparison to this, I'm really glad I have the A6. I'm still gonna use this, of course, but this probably be using more. Let me just close with this. Number 7, it is the pen. Okay, they sent us a bunch of pens, or Supernote sent us a bunch of pens. We got the Samurai pen, and then they sent us this Lamy. I'm probably not gonna be able to see this. Okay, the Lamy pen. And I had seen these earlier. I am not really into stationery, so not familiar with Lamy as a brand. When I first saw these pens, I'm like, these are so ugly. Like this is like the Prius of pens, right? I mean, they may be cool and they have utility, but my goodness, those things are aesthetically, they're not that nice. And so that's why I thought about this Lamy pen, right? But I was like, all right, I'm gonna give it a try. I also have the Heart of Metal pen, so I'm like, that is the slick pen, right? But I was like, okay, I'm gonna give this a try since they sent it to me, right? Since they sent this pen to me, I'll give it a try. And I gotta say, I'm a believer now. I like this pen. This is like a green eggs and ham moment for me, because although it's weird looking and angular, the indentations and angles fit my hand really well, and it's so much lighter than the metal ones. And lightness, again, I'm gonna use it more, I'm gonna write more. That's like the name of the game for me here. So if you're like on the fence on one of these pens, I mean, obviously you can go to the store and try it, but I would recommend this pen now. And I wouldn't have said that before, but I like the indent on the front end. On the tip end, is it gonna focus? On the front end here, this little indents across the board. Again, it looks, I think it doesn't look nice, but oh, it fits my fingers really well. And of course, along the bottom half, the shaft of the pen, sorry, I don't know my stationery. Is it focusing? There you go. On the bottom half here, there's like these indentations, which I think look horrible, but it's so comfortable. And what can I say? You know, like aesthetically, I'm willing to not worry as much because this thing is so light. Yeah, I'm definitely having a green eggs and ham moment with this pen, so you had to give me a moment. It's only been a week, but I will say I'm pretty much done with the Heart of Metal and the Samurai. I didn't really use it. I had the original pen that came with the A6X. Stopped using that after like a day because it just wasn't comfortable, but this one, oh man, this is the winner right here. Okay, so those are my thoughts on the Manta A5X2 after 1 week of use. I plan on doing more videos. It's been crazy schedule-wise. I mean, it's the holiday time, got a family and stuff. It's tough, but I am using this every day to try it, and I'm going to make more videos as I discover more and more things with this device, challenges, things that I like, and I may change my mind, and I hope that people can understand that as I use the device more. I'm hoping that these videos, again, in the long term, help people. It's not to just praise this device in one video and then like move on. I got nothing else to move on to. I'm just doing this for fun, but I'm trying to provide my honest feedback and how I actually use it as a writer, as someone who takes notes, who is trying to use this device to the best that I can. And so again, I'm really thankful that Rada sent it to me, and I am looking forward to future videos. I hope that they're helpful. I hope people found this discussion helpful and relatable and just more like real talk. Again, I have no affiliate links. I don't make money off this channel. And sorry if this video is not like feature heavy on like, oh, here's all the things to do. There are wonderful videos out there, wonderful creators who will cover all the things. But what I'm trying to do is just offer my own experience, share my experience, and just as if I'm talking to a friend who's like thinking about it. And I'm like, yeah, this is just what I've discovered. And if you ask me in a week or two, I'll have different things. In a month, different things. So, yeah, I don't want it to come across like this device is somehow bad. Again, I have the privilege of coming from another Supernote device that was awesome. It is awesome. And so to jump from this to this, it doesn't have to prove anything to me. I already know it's good. That's the great thing. I already know this is good because this is already good. It's just, I want to just point out the things that I've noticed that I'm trying to adjust to, things of concern, things I'm thinking about, and I hope that people find this helpful. All right, thanks for watching.